In 2013, a piece of clothing sold at auction for $682,000. Not a dress worn by royalty, not a jersey from a championship game, a wool sport coat, single-breasted, 3 buttons in a shade of green most people couldn't name off the top of their head. It had belonged to Horton Smith, the very first winner of the Masters back in 1934. Every April, one golfer slips on a jacket exactly like it. And in that instant, their entire life changes. Sponsorship deals shift. Endorsement value multiplies. Historians start comparing them to the 6 men who've won it the most. And yet the golfer doesn't actually get to keep it. Not permanently, not really. It has rules more restrictive than almost any other trophy in sports. It can't be bought. It can't technically even be kept. So how did a simple wool blazer originally bought so club members could be easily spotted by lost visitors become the single most coveted object in golf, arguably in all of sports? The real story involves a chance encounter in England, a retroactive decision made 12 years late, a decades-long fight over race and gender at the club that owns it, and a legal battle over jackets that were never supposed to leave the grounds in the first place. The story starts, of all places, in Liverpool, England, years before Augusta National even existed. Bobby Jones, a golf's biggest star of the era, and later Augusta's co-founder, was at Royal Liverpool Golf Club in 1930 when he noticed something curious. Club captains around him were all wearing matching red coats to mark their rank. According to club history passed down at Hoylake, Jones sat next to the previous year's captain, a man named Kenneth Stoker, and was fascinated enough to ask about it. Stoker reportedly told him, half-jokingly, that he could have one of his own if he won that week's tournament. Jones won. He got the coat. Augusta co-founder Clifford Roberts' practical idea, dressing members in bright jackets so lost visitors could spot someone to ask for help, or as one telling put it, so waiters would know who was picking up the dinner check. The outcome was the same either way. In 1937, 3 years after Augusta National opened, the club bought its first jackets from the Brooks Uniform Company in New York. They were heavy wool, uncomfortable in Georgia's spring heat, and members reportedly complained about them almost immediately. For over a decade, they belonged only to members. Not one Masters champion wore green. Here's the detail that surprises most golf fans. The green jacket, as we know it today, the one presented to the champion, didn't exist for the tournament's first 15 years. Horton Smith won the inaugural event in 1934. Byron Nelson won it in 1937 and again in 1942. Gene Sarazen hit the shot heard round the world, a hold double eagle on the 15th, to force and win a playoff in 1935. None of them received a jacket for it because the tradition simply hadn't been invented yet. They won the tournament, and that was the whole prize. That changed in 1949 when Sam Snead won the Masters and Augusta National decided for the first time to present the champion with a green jacket of his own, along with an honorary club membership. And then the club did something that retroactively rewrote its own history. It went back and awarded green jackets to every previous champion, all the way back to Horton Smith 15 years earlier, including Nelson, Sarazen, and every other name from that first decade and a half. The tradition wasn't born gradually, the way most sports traditions are. It was declared all at once in a single year and then applied backward to make sense of everything that came before it. What makes the green jacket different from almost every other trophy in professional sports is exactly how little control the winner actually has over it. The reigning champion may take the jacket off Augusta National's grounds for exactly 1 year, or for talk shows, photo ops, victory tours, whatever they'd like. After that year is up, it has to come back. You also simply cannot buy one. Since 1967, every green jacket has been made by a single manufacturer, the Hamilton Tailoring Company of Cincinnati. And Hamilton does not accept orders from the general public, no matter how much money you offer. The color itself has an official name, Pantone 342, unofficially known across the golf world as Masters Green. 3 buttons, a single vent, the Augusta National logo stitched onto the left chest pocket and stamped into the brass buttons. It is, by design, one of the only major trophies in sports that money simply cannot purchase. The ceremony itself has its own tradition. The previous year's champion helps the new winner into the jacket. A passing of the torch played out on camera for the entire world to see. It's a lovely piece of theater. Right up until somebody wins twice in a row and there's no previous champion to hand it off, because he's the guy standing right there. That exact problem hit Augusta National in 1966 when Jack Nicklaus became the first golfer in history to win back-to-back Masters titles. Jones and Roberts reportedly had a quick, slightly awkward conversation about what to do and settled on the only workable solution. Nicklaus would simply put the jacket on himself. In the 6 decades since, only 2 other golfers have repeated as champion, Nick Faldo in 1990 and Tiger Woods in 2001. And both times, the club's chairman stepped in to handle the honors instead, since asking a golfer to dress himself on live television had apparently been decided after 1966 to look a little strange. No single moment carries more cultural weight in the jacket's history than 1997. Tiger Woods, 21 years old, won the Masters by 12 strokes.
There it is, a win for the ages.
Still the largest margin of victory in the tournament's history. Mim became the first black golfer ever to win it, at a club whose membership had been exclusively white for most of its existence. That night, by his own account, Woods fell asleep, still holding the jacket like a piece of protective armor rather than a piece of clothing. He'd go on to win 4 more Masters titles across his career, trailing only Nicklaus's record 6. It's worth sitting with how strange that image actually is when you think about it. The sport's biggest emerging superstar, physically clutching a blazer from a club with a complicated, well-documented history on exactly the subject his win had just made history on. The jacket wasn't just a trophy that week. It was proof, worn on his own body, that something at Augusta National had genuinely changed, even while plenty about the club at the time hadn't changed nearly as much as that image suggested. To really understand what that jacket represents, you have to understand the institution handing it out. Augusta National was founded in 1932 as a white, men-only club, and it stayed that way for close to 60 years. The turning point came in 1990 following a wave of national scrutiny after a discrimination controversy at another club, Shoal Creek, which was hosting that year's PGA Championship and had no black members of its own. Under that pressure, Augusta National named Ron Townsend, a media executive, as its first black member, a moment Townsend later described feeling the full weight of. Gender took even longer. In 2002 and 2003, activist Martha Burke led a public campaign demanding Augusta admit women. And then Chairman Hootie Johnson responded that the club might one day do so. But, in his words, not at the point of a bayonet. Nearly a decade later, in 2012, with far less fanfare than the earlier controversy, the club quietly extended membership invitations to former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice and financier Darla Moore finally admitting its first female members 80 years after its founding. Tiger Woods, who knew Rice from a mutual connection at Stanford, publicly welcomed the move at the time, calling it important for the sport as a whole. Given how tightly Augusta National controls its jackets, it might surprise you that a handful have actually made their way to the open market and become genuine collectors' obsessions in the process. That Horton Smith jacket from the Cold Open, the very first one ever awarded, sold for $682,000 in 2013. A jacket that had belonged to Bobby Jones himself as a member rather than as a champion, sold at auction for over $310,000 in 2011. Augusta National did not take this lying down. The club has sued repeatedly to block similar auctions, arguing in court filings that member and champion jackets alike remain the legal property of Augusta National at all times, and no matter who's currently holding one. Meaning even the sellers, in the club's own telling,
feeder, left or right.
And he drops it home again. McIlroy. 3 birdies.
never actually owned what they were trying to sell. One lawsuit specifically targeted a green jacket auctions sale that included a member's jacket once assigned to a man named George King, along with silverware stamped with the club's trademarked logo. It's a strange legal wrinkle for what looks on the surface like a simple sport coat. The club claims permanent ownership, literally every green jacket that has ever left the building, whether anyone agreed to that arrangement or not. Here's the twist that separates the green jacket from almost every other prize in sports. Winning it does not actually make you a member of the club that owns it. Every Masters champion receives what's called honorary membership, the right to wear the jacket on the grounds, a locker in the champion's locker room, a lifetime invitation to play in the tournament every year going forward. It does not include full membership privileges, and it does not come with a vote, a green fee waiver, or the ability to simply call the pro shop and book a tee time with friends whenever you feel like it. Full membership at Augusta National is a separate honor entirely, extended to roughly 300 people total. Through an invitation-only process, nobody outside the club fully understands, with no application, no public criteria, and no waiting list anyone can join. Among past Masters champions, only a small handful have ever received it. Arnold Palmer in 1999, Jack Nicklaus in 2000, and amateur golfer John Harris among them. Tiger Woods, 5-time champion, is not one of them. As recently as 2024, he confirmed publicly that he remains only an honorary member, same as everyone else who's ever slipped on the jacket for the first time. 3-time champion Gary Player has even said finding a member to sponsor a simple practice round with friends isn't always easy, since the club's actual membership is scattered around the world. So how does a jacket originally purchased so members could help lost tourists become the most coveted object in an entire sport? Strip it down, and the answer is almost entirely about restriction. Every other major trophy in golf.
Deal. Yep, carries it all the way.
The claret jug travels the world with its holder for a full year, same as the green jacket. But nobody is suing to keep old claret jugs off the auction block because nobody's confused about who legally owns one. The green jacket works differently because Augusta National made a decision decades ago to treat it less like a prize and more like a piece of the club itself, something merely lent to the champion, never truly given away. Combine that scarcity with the retroactive 12-year gap that turned it into instant history, the awkward on-camera moments it's created, the genuine cultural weight it carried in 1997, and the decades-long fight over who even gets invited to wear one, and you get an object that means more.
His year again. Rory is a rare repeat winner at Augusta.
Most literal symbol of exactly how exclusive golf's most exclusive institution has chosen to remain, worn once a year by whoever proved good enough to briefly join the club, if only for 12 months. If you want more deep dives into the history and traditions that built the game of golf, subscribe and let us know in the comments what we should break down next.